Imagine you buy a coffee, a bus ticket, some groceries, and pay for a quick swim. In one rich country, that small day still feels strangely affordable. In another, the same routine quietly bleeds cash through tips, add-on fees, and extra charges at the till. Then comes the twist. The cheaper place is not the United States, it is Germany. If America has so much, why does everyday life feel easier in Germany? And what hidden systems turn that difference into 11 quiet advantages for normal people? Germany hides 11 free systems that fix hassles, while people in the US pay high prices for the same help. A plate of food lands on your table in a busy restaurant. You read the menu, enjoy your meal, and then the real test begins. In the United States, the price on the page is only a hint. Sales tax waits at the register. A tipping screen or a blank line on the bill stares back at you. You weigh what looks kind, what seems cheap, and what your budget can handle. A quiet dinner out becomes a small exam in numbers and manners. In Germany, the same scene runs on a different script. Tax is already inside the menu price. The final bill matches what you saw. You may round up €1 or two, yet staff do not rely on big tips. One rule change removes a knot of stress from every meal and leaves a strange question hanging over the table. Why does paying to eat feel so much heavier in one rich country than the other? Move from that table to your weekly food shop. Picture a basket filled with dark bread, carrots, apples, cheese, and milk in a German discount store. When you reach the till, the total is often lower than you feared. Supermarket brands taste fine and do not fall apart. Fresh fruit and vegetables do not carry a luxury price tag. People still sigh at rising costs, yet an average paycheck can still cover ingredients for soups, salads, and stews all week. Walk through a similar store in the US and the mood changes. Fresh produce eats a bigger share of your money. Good bread and dairy feel closer to treats than basics. The lowest shelves fill with instant noodles, soda, and boxed meals. Over time, those price signals shape what your family actually eats. And you start to wonder how the place that calls itself the land of plenty made plain, real food, the harder choice. Job training shows this contrast just as strongly. Think about a teenager who does not want a desk job, yet still wants skill and pride in their work. In the US, the usual road runs through college, trade school, or private courses. Those paths often come with tuition, loans, and unpaid practice. The young person pays to learn and hopes someone hires them later. In Germany, the dual training system offers another path. A company signs a contract with the trainee. They work on real tasks, learn in a vocational school, and receive a monthly wage during those years. At the end, they hold a recognized certificate and real experience. Debt is rare in this path. A setup like that quietly flips who depends on whom in the workplace. It makes you wonder what else in German life has been wired this way, where the floor under your feet feels firmer. So far, every scene has been about money leaving your pocket. Meals out, groceries, and first jobs shape most weeks of adult life. In Germany, each one has rules that stop small bills from snowballing into crises. The contrast with the US is not about luxury, it is about who carries the risk every single day. But the difference between the two places runs deeper than prices. The next clues sit in tiny frictions of daily life that you hardly notice until they are gone. Look at a price tag next time you stand in a German shop. The number you see includes tax. There is no need to add percentages in your head. You reach the register, and the total matches what you already pictured. After a while, you stop flinching at the final sum. It feels like the system expects you to see the full cost before you choose. In much of the US, the tag shows a lower number. Tax arrives later, at the moment when you have already chosen. On phone bills, tickets, and hotel bookings, extra charges sit in the fine print. Each one is minor, yet the habit teaches you to brace for a bump at the end. Your shoulders tense a little before every total, and you only see how strange that is when you shop in a place where the last-second jump never comes. Walk a few steps from those shelves, and you may see rows of drinks. In Germany, many bottles and cans carry a small extra charge. You pay it at the start and get it back when you return the empty containers. Supermarkets host machines that take your empties, count them, and print a slip with your credit. Children love to feed the bottles in and watch the numbers climb. People who need a bit of extra cash collect abandoned containers in parks and on trains. Streets stay cleaner because waste now has value. In large parts of the United States, recycling feels like another unpaid task. You sort items at home or drop them at centers, yet there is no direct reward for each bottle. Litter stays on the ground more often. A habit that feels like a small game in Germany feels like unpaid labor in many American towns. You start to see how even trash is handled through two very different logics. Trace your steps from the shop door to your home. In many German towns, that journey is on foot. Dense neighborhoods place bakeries, small markets, and pharmacies within a short walk of homes. City centers close streets to cars or slow them down. People stroll, children ride scooters, and older residents sit on benches. Sidewalks feel expected and safe. In many parts of the U.S., the same distance looks very different. Houses spread out. Shops sit along wide roads. Pavements may be thin, cracked, or missing. Crossing an intersection on foot can feel dangerous. A car is not a comfort, it is a requirement. Each errand becomes a drive, with fuel, insurance, and parking costs baked into every simple task. That layout quietly decides who can move on their own and who stays tied to a vehicle. Now picture those streets from a bike seat. In German cities and many villages, painted lanes, raised paths, and clear signs mark out space for cyclists. Drivers expect to share roads with them. Children ride to school in bright vests. Adults commute in normal clothes, often with baskets full of groceries or kids in seats. A bicycle becomes a daily tool, almost an extension of your legs. In much of the U.S., bikes mingle with fast cars, or lanes exist only as thin paint on asphalt. Parents hesitate to let children ride alone. Many adults feel that cycling is for sport or brave hobbyists, not for regular trips. The bike is there, yet a lot of people feel too exposed to use it for everyday journeys. This split adds another layer to the question of what kind of freedom each system really offers its people. Think about water once you are out in these streets. German cities often place public fountains, refill taps, or clear signs that tap water is safe and free. Train stations, squares, and parks give you places to drink without paying. Carry a bottle, and you stay hydrated all day with no extra cost. In many American spaces, vending machines and branded drinks dominate. Fountains exist, yet they are less common in busy public spots and sometimes look old or unreliable. Buying a drink turns into the default. Month after month, more of your spare cash goes on bottles and cups, and more sugar slips into your day. On its own, this seems minor, but stack it with all the other tiny charges and your time outside starts to feel like one long reminder to spend. Seen side by side, these details start to look like one way of thinking made real. Clear paths for walking, safe space for bikes, and free places to drink all pull daily life in the same direction. The result is a gentle push toward habits that leave streets cleaner, trips cheaper, and your nerves a little calmer. The United States has pieces of this, yet often as scattered projects instead of a steady background. In Germany, they join into a web you move through without even noticing, until you look up and realize how different it feels to live inside it. Inside a German town, it is hard to miss the club culture. Sports fields, music halls, and small clubhouses host groups called Verein. A local football team trains children and adults for a modest fee. Choirs rehearse in simple rooms. Chess players meet on folding tables. Volunteers run much of this life. Cities and towns help with space and small grants. The result is a wide net of low-cost activities that give people roles, friends, and routine. In many parts of the U.S., community groups exist yet often tie into higher membership fees, private gyms, or commercial leagues. The clubs are there, but the price at the door turns more people away. This difference touches something beyond fun. It changes who feels they have a place in shared life. Walk past the last houses and you find the same way of thinking in the fields and trees. Germany may be dense, yet public parks, riversides, and forests sit close to where people live. Trails cut through woods with clear signs. Law and tradition protect public access to many paths. Families go for Sunday walks without paying for entry or driving for hours. Children grow up knowing how a forest smells in each season. In the U.S., nature covers huge areas, from mountain ranges to deep forests and long coasts. People fly in from far away to see these places on holidays. Yet for daily life, many families lean more on malls, cinemas, and paid attractions. Reaching wild space often needs a car, time off, and entry costs. The landscape is impressive, but it slips out of most people's normal week. You start to see that in Germany, even trees and fields are treated as a kind of shared, low-cost comfort. The weekly rhythm fits this same idea. Sundays in Germany carry a special calm. Laws keep most shops closed. Construction pauses. Many loud tasks wait for another day. The streets slow down. People visit family, walk in parks, sit in cafes that do open, or simply rest at home. Not everyone likes this rule. Some feel limited by it. Yet the net effect is a weekly breath that the whole country takes together. Across the Atlantic, Sundays often look like prime retail time. Big stores open their doors. Sale signs fill windows and car parks fill up. Many workers in service roles face their busiest hours. A common pause for rest becomes one option among many, not the default. Once again, the contrast is not about wealth in a narrow sense. It is about whether rest and quiet are treated as private luxuries or public norms. Clubs, green space, and a shared day of rest do not put extra cash in your hand. They pay you in something softer. Routine, friendships, places to breathe. They make it cheap to feel included, to step outside, to be around other people without having to buy a ticket every time. The United States has its own churches, teams, and natural wonders, but access more often runs through a membership fee, a long drive, or a credit card tap. So the real comparison is not which country looks prettier on a postcard. It is this. In each system, how many ways to feel human are quietly fenced off by a price tag, and how many are simply there when you step outside. Seen together, these 11 moments reveal a hidden pattern. In Germany, many of the little safety nets of daily life are treated as shared projects, not private luxuries. Clear prices, paid training, walkable streets, bike lanes, bottle deposits, clubs, none of these appeared by accident. They were built on purpose through rules, taxes, and planning. So you pay a bit more into the system and a bit less at the exact moment you need help. In the United States, the default leans the other way. Keep taxes lower, trust private markets, and let each person solve more problems with their own wallet. Both models feel normal to the people inside them, but only one makes it rare for a coffee, a train ticket, or a quiet Sunday to carry that sharp, background fear of, can I really afford this? Think about what this means in your own life. If basic food stays fair in price, you worry less each time you shop. If training does not demand heavy debt, you pick a path because it fits you, not only because it pays best. If streets welcome walking and bikes, you move more with less stress. If clubs and parks are open to nearly everyone, your children grow up feeling that they belong somewhere. If Sundays slow down as a rule, you feel allowed to rest. None of these things make headlines. They do, though, decide how heavy or light your days feel. Germany is far from perfect. Paper forms still pile up. Trains run late. Housing often feels tight and pricey in big cities. People there argue about their system all the time. Yet when you look at these 11 quiet supports together, you can see a special kind of wealth. It hides in cheap bread, simple bike paths, clear bills, and green woods near home. It looks like the absence of panic when you pay. It sounds like the hush of a protected Sunday. It feels like knowing that many basic parts of life will not collapse if you miss one step. Maybe real national wealth is not tall skylines or fat paychecks, but how many of your problems are quietly half solved before you notice them? Germany pushes many of those small burdens into the background through shared systems. The United States leaves more of them in your hands. Both choices claim the language of freedom and fairness, but they create very different kinds of days. So try a simple test. Walk through an ordinary day and count how many times you tense up around money, movement, or time off. Then ask yourself, which of these German ideas would erase one of those knots? And what would it feel like if that stress simply wasn't there anymore? Share that thought with someone close, and see which quiet change you both wish your country would steal first. If you live in Germany, you can walk through your next normal day and notice these hidden supports with fresh eyes. If you live in the US or somewhere else, you can ask which of these ideas you would copy first if you had the power. Talk about it with someone close to you, and share which quiet change would make your own everyday life feel lighter.